Sheraton Hotel. It's the 1983 National Football League Collegiate Draft, brought to you by Budweiser. For all you do, this Bud's for you. And by Timex, ESPN's timekeeper. Timex, we make technology beautiful. And by the Shell Oil Company, supplying quality products and services to meet your driving needs. Come to Shell for answers. Hi, hello, and welcome back to the New York Sheraton Hotel in New York City for the 1983 National Football League Collegiate Player Draft. You can hear the hustle and bustle around us. Our entire ESPN draft team is ready to bring you the draft for the fourth consecutive year, and we are just moments away from the start of this 1983 draft. Joining us, as usual, here at the podium in New York City, Paul Zimmerman of Sports Illustrated and Howard Balzer of the Sporting News. Let's get right to it, gentlemen. The big question is the Baltimore Colts and that #1 pick. What is the latest up-to-the-minute scuttlebutt?
I've got my eye on that Baltimore table right now, and he's on the phone, but I don't see him writing anything.
He's getting coffee,
That
probably.
means he's talking to his girlfriend, but nobody's telling him anything.
What do you hear?
Well, the newest entry, of course, is the LA Raiders. They have a package on the table with Chicago, enabling them to get the #6 pick in the draft, enabling them to put together a package to get Elway. I don't see any names mentioned in that package, veteran package offensive lineman, which is what Chicago wants. I heard rumors that they were willing to give up either Mickey Marvin, their right guard, or Curtis Marsh, their left guard. I don't know whether they would do that because then they cripple their offensive line. I don't know. It seems that New England is also in the hunt, and San Diego, if they have reached agreement with Fouts, now fades to third in the Elway sweepstakes.
Howard, how do you read it up to this minute?
That pretty well wraps it up, really. And New England all along has had the best offer on the table, a 1 and a 2 this year and a 1 and a 2 next year. Nobody else, San Diego, really, up until last night, had never actually put an offer on the table to the Colts. It's coming down to the last minute. I'm sure the Colts are talking to people right now as we're speaking. So we'll just have to wait and see in the next couple of minutes and see what happens. Denver might even be a late possibility as well.
We'll have more on that first pick in just a couple of moments, but the man who will be starting things off in just a couple of minutes in this 1983 draft is NFL Commissioner Pete Rozelle, and he's standing by with our Sal Marciano. Sal?
Okay, George. Elway may play in the NFL, may not, but for the last couple of weeks, he's been the most spoken about name probably in American sport.
He really has been. I can't think of a recent draft where there's been, well, maybe since Terry Bradshaw. The Bears in Pittsburgh had to flip for the right to the first pick that year, and it was for Terry Bradshaw. But he's really been a big name in this draft.
This is the first time in 18 years you've had a single-session draft. This is going to test all your personnel all over the league today.
The old days, of course, we went nonstop when the AFL was operating before we merged, and it was hours, like 30 hours, I think we went on. But this will be the first, as you say, this nonstop. I guess we'll finish sometime after midnight.
Commissioner, we're going in just a couple of minutes. Can you give us a scoop as to what's going to happen?
I don't know. I talked to Baltimore very late last night. I haven't this morning, and I don't know if there's a trade in the wind or whether they're going to take Elway or just what.
We'll see you on the roster. Thank you.
Fine, thank you.
Okay, back to George Grant.
Thank you very much, Sal. We'll be going to the commissioner in just a couple of minutes for that first pick. We'll see what Baltimore decides to do. Now, what Baltimore decides to do could very well be related to any number of teams. As Howard and Zim just mentioned, San Diego is one of the teams who may very well wind up with that first pick via a trade. Dave Sullivan is standing by with an update on San Diego's draft prospectus.
It is incredible to think that last year the Chargers sat idle through the first day of the draft. But John Sanders and Don Coryell did so by design, sacrificing all of the club's first 6 picks in a series of transactions that not only obtained some immediate help, but were also aimed at stacking their hand for the 1983 draft. First, there was a decision to make a switch of first-round picks, part of the Fred Dean deal with the 49ers. Then came the second first-round payment from the Packers for Johnny Jefferson, along with a second-round dividend from the 49ers. Finally, last week, Sanders drew a third first-round ace from his pals in San Francisco in exchange for the club's own second-round pick, as well as the #2 choice picked up from the 49ers. Although the Chargers did not take a pick in last year's draft until the 7th round, they still managed to come up with a quality punter in the person of Maury Buford, an 8th-round choice from Texas Tech. Now, while the club has produced just 3 starters in the premium rounds over the last 5 years, the Chargers have added 5 regulars via trade, and 3 of those, Chuck Muncie, Wes Chandler, and Tim Fox, were former number 1 choices, and a 4th, Ed White, was a 2nd-round selection. The San Diego Chargers have not made very many mistakes in the premium rounds of the NFL draft. The list is short. A couple of mistakes back in 1978. However, the Chargers, due to Gene Klein's refusal to renegotiate contracts, did run into trouble and lost Johnny Jefferson and Fred Dean. Jefferson, of course, ended up being traded to Green Bay, and Fred Dean went to San Francisco and appeared in the Super Bowl with the 49ers. The thrust of the San Diego Charger draft strategy here in 1983 will revolve around 2 things. A, the team's ability to come to contractual terms with Dan Fouts, and that will dictate B, whether or not the club is able to make a deal with the Colts to get to John Elway. Should the Chargers fail to make a deal with the Baltimore Colts, General Manager Johnny Sanders will be looking for a pair of quality linemen for both sides of scrimmage. The Chargers are especially long in the tooth on the offensive line, where both Russ Washington and Ed White must be considered as aging veterans. No doubt the defensive coordinator Tom Bass would like to see the club obtain some depth for an injury and error-plagued secondary.
Thank you, David. We should point out one thing, and that is a late developing story, that it may just be rumor, may just be part of a truth factor. We don't really know because no one is saying it, but there has been a report overnight that Fouts has agreed to contract terms with San Diego. No one from San Diego has confirmed that yet, and we'll be trying to check it out as the day progresses. Of course, that first pick does belong to the Baltimore Colts. And Frank Kush, while he has avoided talking about what happens with John Elway, he is very clear on what he thinks his team needs for 1983.
Well, we need a lot of things, and probably some people say you need a coach also. But no, in all sincerity, I thought we made a great deal of progress last year. We need some defensive linemen very badly, at least one. We have a couple of good people in Wisniewski, the young guy from Penn State last year, Donnell Thompson. In addition to that, the offensive line, we need some help at the guard spot, and this is a good year for offensive linemen. We need receivers. We don't have a great deal of deep speed. We missed a lot of balls. We need some catchers also. So, and in the secondary, we need some help. But I would say our primary needs are both in the offense and defensive line.
The head man of the Baltimore Colts, Frank Kush.
48th Annual National Football League Selection Meeting is now in session. First choice, first round, Baltimore Colts.
Don Weiss has just received a card from the Colts desk. Let's see what the commissioner says.
Baltimore selects as the first choice in the draft quarterback John Elway of Stanford.
That tells the story right from the top. And Frank Kush,
Next up, Los Angeles Rams.
Frank Kush has indicated from the very beginning, when we talked to him at the Senior Bowl, for instance, he said, look, let's put the cards on the table. Yes, we need multiple players. Yes, we need a lot of people to make this club go. But if I don't feel I can get enough of a package, then I will draft John Elway. And that's exactly what he did.
I think somebody panicked in that organization. I think what they intended to do was go right down to the wire to the last second and try and make their best possible trade, and I think somebody said, let's do it now. I don't know why they didn't wait till the very end of the 15-minute period, unless everybody backed out.
One other point is they have the rights to Elway now. San Diego was in the hunt. They picked 4 picks later. The Raiders possibly still could get back into it. We still have a few other picks coming in front. I think the Colts are saying to those other teams, we might take them. And so now they're hoping they'll get back on the phone. There could still be a trade somewhere down the line.
What we're trying to say here is that the story is not over with John Elway. It may be developing all day long because, number one, yes, the rights are owned by the Colts now. Number two is, will they keep those rights? Number three is, can they sign John Elway? For more on this situation and San Diego's pick, let's check in with our headquarters from our ESPN studios and Bob Lee and Company. Bob?
Thank you, George. You mentioned 3 factors. Factor 4, John Elway of the Oneonta Yankees, who had $160,000 to play about 40 games last year. Chris Berman, Bud Wilkinson with yours truly, Bob Lee, will be looking at the players and putting them into their teams as they are selected. Certainly, there's no doubt, Bud, that John Elway is the cream of this draft. Whether we'll have further deals yet to be determined. But is he a franchise player? Is that too great a burden to put on a man who's got a TD interception ratio of 2 to 1, a 65% passer?
I don't think there's anything about Elway that has been overstated. I think he's that kind of a football player. I think he'll be that kind of a professional football player.
Elway has been called, Chris, the best college quarterback to come out of the college ranks since Namath. Dick Steinberg has said he's got no flaws. We talked about him on our draft preview show. We'll take a look at his scouting report in just a bit, and the only thing he gets knocked down on is agility, but his arm is as good as we've ever seen.
Well, as we said before, his agility, maybe he doesn't like running up mountains, but remember that private meeting that the Colts weren't talking about between Elway, his father Jack Elway, the college football coach, and also Frank Kush? Obviously, I can't say obviously because there may be a deal, but just perhaps they could have ironed out whatever differences there are, Bob. And I said on the draft preview show I would not be surprised at all to see the Colts keep Elway. I mean, what's wrong with that? It's not like they haven't had good quarterbacks in that franchise's history.
You had a look at the scouting reports we'll be seeing throughout the day on a 5-point system, keep in mind, and we put together a number of scouting reports from throughout the National Football League on a 5-point system. Elway grades out to a 19.5, agility give him a 4.5, so we put together some of the numbers, but of course numbers certainly don't tell everything about what John Elway is going to do, because he has now, maybe by the end of today, we'll find out if he's going to Baltimore or San Diego. That's an intriguing story, though, about Fouts that George laid on us a few moments ago, Bud.
Well, I think so, and what he decides to do, of course, would have a lot of ripples down the line, but I can't go along about the agility of Elway. I've seen him play too many times, and he's got that quality that has made the difference in recent years in football, which is mobility for a quarterback.